Kevin's not here. It's just me and you again. All right, let's do this. In Vern, Just the Verns Part 2, I started talking about wrestling. I talked a little bit about AEW and their last pay-per-view. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to do a bunch of talking about wrestling this episode. I'm sorry, but I have to talk about wrestling in order for what I'm going to talk about to make sense. I gotta lay a lot of groundwork, okay? So, in professional wrestling, there are good guys and there are bad guys, but they are not called good guy and bad guys. The good guys are called faces, which is short for baby faces, and the bad guys are called heels, which is short for heels. Wrestling has a bunch of weird insider terminology. Whenever you're faking something in wrestling, it's not faking it, you're kayfabing it. If you're doing something for real, that's shoot. There's all sorts of weirdo terminology. If you're curious, it dates back to when wrestling was really popular way back in like the 1930s, 1920s, whatever it was. And back whenever they communicated via telegram. And different wrestling promoters would talk about their different shows. But they realized if they talked about what was happening in real life terminology, the people who ran the telegrams could spoil events and people wouldn't go or people wouldn't be interested. So instead of saying this guy is going to win against this guy, they would say, this guy is going to go over. They would say, instead of this guy is going to become a good guy now, they'd say, he's going to turn face, or he's going to become a face. Different things like that. They would use fake, made-up terms to obfuscate. Am I using that term correctly? They'd use make-up terms to hide the results from the prying eyes of the public. So if you wanted to know what was going on at that wrestling show, you had to buy a ticket. So good guys are faces and bad guys are heels. And heels in wrestling, there's a handful of different types. There's your what's kind of referred to as your monster heels. Those are your big tough pieces of shit that won't lose a fight. Big muscular guys that just go in and beat the shit out of everybody, and that's it. That's your monster heel. There's also real life monster heel. There's scary heels. So people love The Undertaker, but for the longest time he was a bad guy because he was a scary monster. Ooh. There are your kind of chicken shit heels. There's your bad guys that will sneak in and attack the good guy, but whenever the good guy turns around, they run away, or they'll do everything they can to cheat to win. Donald Trump is a chicken shit heel. He cheats. He tries to cheat, and whenever the good guys pull one over on him, he accuses them of cheating. And then there's more heels than just this, but the last one I wanted to bring up was the self-centered, arrogant heel, the pretty boy kind of heel, the one who just there's a guy in AEW named MJF, and he's a bad guy because the instant his music starts, you hear him yell, "I'm better than you," and you know it. He's a great heel just all around, but he's a chicken shit heel, but he's also that pretty boy, prima donna thinks he's better than everyone heel, self-centered heel. And there's a little bit more groundwork I need to cover. I'm very sorry. But years ago, so when I was a little kid, I loved wrestling, and then I fell out of it after, so long. Essentially, I fell out of it whenever WCW got bought out by the WWF, whatever it was back then. And I fell out of it back then. I watched a little bit, and I tried to hang on, but people make out the different wrestling territories as being North versus South, and really what it is Coke versus Pepsi. WWF, WWE offered a different flavor of wrestling than I liked, so I stopped watching it, and it was fine. I've gotten back into wrestling in a big bad way, because there's a new promotion called AEW. They've been around for 2 years now. I talked about them in the last episode, and they make a flavor that I really, 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 really like. And so A couple years ago, I found myself getting back into wrestling. This was just a hair before AEW started. But like me not knowing anything that's going on in the world and me kind of being a dumb white guy, the wrestling I was watching was WWE. And for the most part, I didn't care for it, but there were two storylines that were going on in the company that I really enjoyed. In order from less enjoyed to most enjoyed, they were this. There was a guy named Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan looks like me. He's got a big bushy beard and long hair. And at the time I was watching, he was a heavyweight champion of the world. He was like the top guy in the company. He had the big belt, and he called himself the planet's champion. He would verbally berate people in attendance at the shows and verbally berate people at home watching for not taking care of the planet. Daniel Bryan in real life he's at least a vegetarian. I think he might be a vegan. And he would like berate people for eating meat. There's this wonderful video online where he's like cutting a promo. Cutting a promo is, in wrestling terminology, is just giving a speech about something. But he's like giving a speech about this like specific burger. There's this burger with like bacon and eggs and all this stuff on it. It's a big meaty burger, and he's cutting a promo on like how this burger is bad and how it's a symbol for like how terrible the United States is and how terrible our culture is, and he's complaining about this burger and anyone who eats this burger. And at the time he was a champion, but like the championship was, it's gold on a leather belt, and he replaced it with like wood on a hemp strap, and it was like a belt made of renewable resources. And he would talk about like how we need to stop fucking the environment and how we need to take better care of each other. And because the WWE is a bad company who's ran by a piece of shit whose wife worked for Donald Trump, this guy who was talking about like us fucking the earth raw and how we need to be better to the earth, he was a bad guy. It makes no sense. But I was really enjoying what heel, quote unquote, Daniel Bryan was doing. He was painted as a heel, but I found myself in agreement with him a whole bunch. I'm just not a vegetarian or a vegan because I don't take good care of my body. And also, like, I give a hoot about the environment. I like recycling. I like trying to take care of everything I can. I related to Daniel Bryan, even though he was in storyline a heel, because his boss, who writes all the storylines, is a red-blooded conservative piece of shit. Like Daniel Bryan, who's depicted as like wanting to save the earth, was depicted as a bad guy. The other storyline I was very, very interested in was the storyline involving Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch, she was best friends with this gal named Charlotte, and Becky Lynch had won a chance at the women's championship. And what had happened was it was going to be Becky Lynch versus another gal. I can't remember. I think it was Carmella. It doesn't matter. It was Becky Lynch versus another gal for the championship. And her best friend Charlotte rallied to get herself into the match, which made it a three-way match. And then like Charlotte won this match and she won the championship. Becky thought that she had been taken advantage of. She thought that her hard work had been taken advantage of. She did not think that Charlotte deserved to be in that match because, I mean, she didn't. And Becky was upset about this and just hauled off and slapped the shit out of Charlotte. And that was Becky's heel turn. And it's hilarious if you watch it, because when Becky slaps the shit out of Charlotte, the audience goes fucking ape shit. They're so happy for Becky. They're screaming her name. And the announcers are supposed to paint this as like Becky's a bad guy, and they're like, oh, we can't believe what Becky's done. And the audience is just going fucking ape shit and just cheering Becky's name. And they're like, oh, Charlotte was Becky's former best friend. And everyone's like, whoa, fuck you, Charlotte. It was great. And Becky came out like week after week after this saying like, I deserve this. No one's fought harder than me, blah, 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 blah. And she started calling herself the Man, which was really, really, really cool. She was doing this whole thing about like men have dominated the industry for too long, and she's the man, all this stuff. And, because there was like a feminist bent to her storyline, and because she's, not blonde hair, blue-eyed like Charlotte. Because she is not like a conservative wet dream, she was depicted as being the bad guy. She was depicted to be as being the heel. And you may or may not know this, but I fucking love Becky Lynch. She's my favorite wrestler. I have a shirt of Becky Lynch. I don't get to wear it very often because it is her with she got punched in the nose, and so it's like her with a big bloody face. And I don't wear it very often because I realize that context is very important. And if just anyone were to see me wearing that shirt, they would think because it's Becky Lynch and her whole face is bleeding and she's smiling. And if someone who weren't in the know were to see me wearing the shirt, they might think like, oh, this piece of shit's okay with like women being beat up. And that's not what it is. To me, that image is like Becky like standing in the face of adversity. Go ahead, break my fucking nose. I'm going to keep fighting for what I believe in. And that's powerful for me. And so the Becky Lynch storyline, the Daniel Bryan storyline, they kind of got me back into wrestling, and now I'm watching AEW, and every Wednesday night those are my stories. I get really excited to watch AEW. All this groundwork laid to say the following: I'm turning heel. My birthday was recently, and it was last month, and I decided as a present to myself, I'm turning heel. I'm becoming a bad guy. Now, I'm not going to become a monster who just beats the shit out of everybody. I'm not going to become an undead zombie. I'm not going to become a chicken shit who sneaks up on people, attacks them, and then runs away. But I'm going to be that self-centered heel. Namely, I'm going to be that WWE version of a self-centered heel. Meaning, I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm going to stand up for what I think is right. If I think people are getting the shaft, or if I think people are getting a raw deal, or they're not being treated fairly, I'm going to stand up for that. And amongst those people that I'm going to stand up for whenever I think they're getting a raw deal is me. I've always been the kind of person where if you were to walk up and punch me in the stomach, immediately my brain would process it as, oh my God, I walked into your hand. Is your hand okay? And that's just how I am. That's always how I've been. I've kind of rolled over and died for so many things. And I went to a private Catholic school, and there was a time in my life where I was going to church like 6 times a day. And I was taught, like turn the other cheek. And there were so many times where like I got a raw deal, or I wasn't being treated fairly by a teacher or by a parent or whatever. And I just sat there and accepted it for belief that honestly, because I wasn't worthy of having a voice, or I wasn't worthy of standing up for myself. I wasn't worthy of having value or anything. There was a lot of my life where I didn't feel like I was worthwhile, and I didn't feel like I was worth a damn. And there was a lot of time in my life where I didn't think I was good enough to be treated fairly, or to be treated kindly, or to be given value or anything like that. And this year, 2020, this year that I turned 31, it's not happening anymore. I'm becoming a self-centered heel. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm going to fight for what I believe in. And there are some things that I'm not going to take no for an answer on. And in wrestling, the pursuit is always the belt, is always the championship belt. Everyone does what they do in order to get closer to the belt, that championship that means so much. And my heel turn is in favor of me pursuing that championship belt. In this case, that championship belt is artistic and creative freedom. That championship belt is fucking motherfucking getting Pet Turtles done. It's going to fucking happen. We've got dates scheduled for ADR. It's going to happen. That championship belt is doing projects that have been sitting for so long that I've wanted to get done. That championship is me saying the things, either physically saying them or artistically saying them, that are important to me, and getting those things done. That's my championship belt that I'm going for in the year 2020, 2021, in the year that I am 31 years old. I'm going to be pressing hard to get the things done that I want to be done, and I'm going to be standing up for what I believe is right. And unfortunately, standing up for what you believe in is not always cool. It's not always, it's not always fashionable. Doesn't always look nice. But also, like, I don't know, there's people that are fucking hurting and we need to take care of them. And I'm sorry if that upsets other people, but, like, I don't know, like, I believe in taking care of other people and having empathy. I'm going to just fight hard to, like, I'm going to fight hard against perceived injustices to groups of people. I'm going to fight hard against perceived injustices to myself. I'm not going to roll over and die for things like I used to. I'm turning heel. I'm going to be a self-centered piece of shit heel in the year 2021 and in the year that I am 31 years old. I'm going to do some things that or might be a bummer. There's going to be some things that people don't care for me doing. There's going to be a space and time where I'm going to be like almost silent because I want to write. There's just a lot of stuff that I want to do. But and it's going to be a bummer, but for me, it's what's right. It's for me, it's what I need to do. There's a voice in me that I've repressed for so long. There's things that I've wanted to do for so long, but I've not done. I'm going to reclaim my voice. I'm going to reclaim my power this year that I've turned 31, this year, 2021. And I'm going to get my fucking movie done. I'm going to write more things. I'm going to draw. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to do. And so you may not like it, but I hope you do. Because this is all stuff that's very, very, very important to me. So yeah, that's what's going on. Your boy Verns turning heel. I gotta come up with a gimmick name. But until then, I hope you all will follow along with me and enjoy the ride. I'm at Varnyo on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. My YouTube's going to get populated with real things soon. I'm going to make this fucking movie for real. Finally, it's going to get done. And I hope you'll follow along because I want to make things that I'm proud of, and I want to make things that will make you proud. So, in the words of perhaps the greatest professional wrestler of all time, Kenny Omega, current AEW World Heavyweight Champion, the cleaner Kenny Omega, in his words, goodbye and good night. Bang!